London, you stink. No, I mean you literally stink. You stink so bad that people think your smell is the cause of mass death. Okay. Joking aside, this actually was the case in London during the summer of 1858, when a massive heat wave lowered the water levels in the River Thames, exposing tons of raw sewage to bake in the hot sun. This unpleasant event was known as the Great Stink. This video will talk about how poor sanitation and waste disposal led to London's River Thames becoming dangerously polluted, and how the problem was eventually fixed following the Great Stink of 1858. One could say the Great Stink was a long time coming. Londoners had been disposing waste into the Thames for centuries, and there was knowledge of the negative consequences of dumping waste into the Thames as early as the 1700s. People assumed that because the Thames was directly connected to the ocean, that all the waste would eventually flow out into the sea. The problem with this theory is that the Thames is a tidal river. This means that stuff dumped closer to the shore often just sloshes back and forth, commonly being washed ashore or staying in the river instead of flowing out into the sea. Sewage from the Thames was getting into people's drinking water, and it was the cause of several cholera outbreaks in the first half of the 19th century. In 1849, 2,000 Londoners were dying per week from cholera. Many Londoners believed that the cause of the illness was from breathing in the noxious fumes that came from the stink of the river. That cholera was an airborne disease. But Dr. John Snow, an English physician, was the first to argue that the sickness was coming from people drinking contaminated water that had come from the River Thames. Dr. John Snow had discovered a breached pump that was due to a well being located mere feet from a cesspit. This had confirmed that the cholera outbreak could be directly linked to drinking water. Unfortunately, Dr. John Snow's discovery would be largely ignored for years due to the fact that people did not want to believe that they had been drinking their own waste and that depolluting the River Thames would be expensive. And the polluted river did not affect the lives of the powerful rich like it did the working poor. But this would all change after the event known as the Great Stink in 1858. In the summer of 1858, London was struck by a massive heat wave. The average temperature in the month of June was 35 degrees Celsius, or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat wave caused the water levels in the Thames to lower, which exposed centuries of raw sewage to bake in the blistering sun. This sewage included human waste, industrial waste, and animal carcasses. The stench was so awful that it caused people to vomit from miles away whenever the wind blew in their direction. Charles Dickens wrote, "I can certify that the offensive smells, even in that short whiff, have been of a most head and stomach distending nature." The Palace of Westminster, the brand new parliamentary building, sat right on the River Thames. The smell was so bad the Parliament was unable to conduct business. There were efforts to move British Parliament away to Oxford, but the British government had just spent a fortune constructing the new building, and therefore, 18 days later, the Parliament was inspired to act to permanently solve the pollution problem in the River Thames. This should serve as a stark reminder to how quickly people in power will act to fix problems once it directly impacts them. Engineer Joseph Basil Jett would be appointed to lead the task of installing a permanent modern sewage system in London in order to improve the city's sanitation and rid the city of the awful stink coming from the Thames. He helped implement a system of sewers and creation of embankments along the river to help prevent the buildup of waste. The construction of the new sewer system would begin in 1859 and be completed in 1875. The project almost entirely fixed London's cholera problems, and since its completion in 1875, there has not been a single cholera outbreak in London. Joseph Basil Jett would be considered a hero by Londoners and was knighted by the UK government in 1875. The sewage system installed by Basil Jett is still being used in London to this day. So while the Great Stink was incredibly disgusting and unpleasant, it was what finally forced the British government to take action to fix the problem. The Great Stink likely saved thousands of lives due to the new sewage systems eliminating outbreaks of cholera. I would like to thank everyone who watched the entire video. If you enjoyed what you just watched, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment, letting me know you subscribed and what topics you would like to see. I plan to keep making more videos talking about unusual historical figures and events.